So I have another pre-MCU cartoon for you. This one from the wonderful world of the X-Men, hence my attire. So this is the 1989 X-Men cartoon pilot, and the episode is called Pryde of the X-Men. And it is a failed pilot. Because it is, but it isn't, but it is. What do I mean by that? First, let's take a gander at the cartoon itself, then we'll get into the whole rigmarole of it all after. Alright, let's go. Okay, so we find out right off the bat this fantastic episode is narrated by the legendary Stan Lee, which is wicked awesome. So this story starts off with the mutant-hating US Army transporting the self-professed terrorist Magneto somewhere, we don't know where, but Magneto's buddy, the White Queen, does a mind trick on the convoy and helps Magneto bust out of there, which, you know, for humanity can't be too good. We shift over to the X-Mansion. Kitty Pryde shows up there because she got an invitation from Professor Xavier. He's like, yeah, I know you're a mutant. I got this thing called Cerebro. Tells me all I need to know about your powers. So he's like, yeah, why don't you join us? She meets the whole team in the danger room, but they are called to action. The red alarm mutant alert goes off because there's some danger out there somewhere. So the team takes off, leaving Kitty and Professor at the mansion, where they get attacked by Magneto and Juggernaut. But what is Magneto doing destroying the mansion, you know, other than being a jerk? Turns out he wants the Cerebro mutant power circuit for an undisclosed reason, and as much as Kitty tried to stop him from getting it, you know, she's kind of new to fighting evil mutants. She lost control of the Cerebro circuit, and fortunately now Magneto's got it.
Meanwhile,
That red alarm that went off earlier, well, turns out two of Magneto's other buddies, Blob and Pyro, were hijacking a deep space observatory station just so they can get the tracking coordinates to the Scorpio comet, which is kind of traveling somewhat close to Earth, but you know, Magneto totally wants this thing. The X-Men go up there to save the scientists, but you know, they still hate the X-Men because they're dirty mutants. And off in the distance, police sirens are coming to arrest the X-Men on a space station, which I guess. So they take off, and they go back to the X-Mansion, which is somewhat blown up. So Magneto's hanging out on his base, Asteroid M, where he captures the Scorpio comet, and he wants to use that to divert it to Earth to destroy the Earth. Well, I guess not destroy the Earth, more like the impact from the comet will create a massive dust cloud blocking out the sun and devastating the Earth that way, which will also devastate the mutants. I guess he would go back there and save them and have them live on the asteroid or something, but not a whole lot of explanation on that. So the X-Men fly up to Asteroid M to stop Magneto on his plan and to tell Kitty Pryde to stay back. You know, like, you're not trained, you're just 14 years old, you're brand new to all this. Wolverine is leading the voice, saying, yeah, don't bring her along. But she's stubborn, right? She stows away on the jet. So the X-Men are in space. They're now in their spacesuits so they can get on the asteroid, where Cyclops blasts a hole in the side of the asteroid's hull, you know, to get in. Wait, so Cyclops uses his optic blasts while wearing a space helmet to punch a hole in a hull, but it doesn't destroy his space helmet? Huh, that doesn't sound right. I'll just consult my science book on this real quick. See now, optic blast, and oh, here it is. Yep, that is scientifically possible. Okay, good. So they're on the space station. The team breaks up to fight other members of the evil mutants, including Juggernaut and Colossus battling with a super heavy and durable air duct. You know, because those things aren't light and they're not made of aluminum or anything, but you know, I guess these space air ducts are made of titanium or something, I guess. That makes this scene make sense. So while the other X-Men are slowly slowed down with battling the evil mutants, Nightcrawler's able to teleport to the bridge where he confronts Magneto. But before Magneto is about to use his magnetic powers towards Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde phases through the floor to stop him, saving Nightcrawler's life like a hero. So this makes Magneto shoot his magnetic powers off, which isn't a thing, and it destroys one of the circuits controlling the Scorpio comet. So now nothing can control the comet from hurtling to Earth. But so Nightcrawler uses his body to complete the circuit to control the comet, and Kitty knocks Magneto on his comet control platform, and Professor X uses his mind powers through Magneto's brain to change the course of the comet away from Earth towards Asteroid M, so they're all gonna die. This is horrible. But now they all get out of there pretty quick and easy. Nightcrawler teleports out of there at the last minute, but he's safe and saved. And so is the day, thanks to Kitty Pryde, who was basically on the X-Men, but not quite according to Wolverine. But hey, other than that, welcome to the X-Men, Kitty Pryde. I hope you survived the experience. So that was an amazing episode. Like, the animation was like top notch. The story was pretty awesome and pretty faithful to mid-80s X-Men. With the awesome representation of the 80s X-Men team and the 80s X-Men costumes. Of course, in 1989, Cyclops wasn't on the team. He already left to form the X-Factor 3 years earlier. It's really incredible how they really ramped up the mutant hate in this one. Every time they seen a human, all it was dirty mutant this, dirty mutant that. Like, unreal. Now, at the time, there was a lot of critiques about the character Kitty Pryde. People complained that they made her too whiny and too much of a child, but as she said in this one, she's 14 years old. She's brand new to this. She just got confirmation that she's a mutant and she really hasn't trained her powers, and all of a sudden she's going up against Magneto? Like, one of the strongest mutants ever? Yeah, I'd be a little out of my depth too. But it did show a lot of her character progression, from beginning of this episode to being a dull-eyed kind of whiny child to being like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna fight. And that would have been the way the series would have gone. The major critique was with the character wearing this costume. For some reason, they made Wolverine Australian? It's like, yeah, sure, Canadians and Australians are best friends. Heck, we're like cousins. But that doesn't mean we're one and the same. In fact, the animal Wolverine itself lives in northern climates. It doesn't live anywhere near down under. What? This would kind of stem back to a previous incarnation of the X-Men in a similar universe of cartoons with Spider-Man and his amazing friends. When they first introduced Wolverine in that one, he was Australian in that as well. Don't know why. I guess this would foreshadow Australian Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine later on in the live-action movies. And even he got Wolverine's nationality right.
Your country needs you. I'm Canadian.
So when I say this pilot was a failure, like, it is, but it isn't true. It's true in the sense that there was only the pilot and it wasn't picked up as a TV show, but the reasons behind that wasn't because of the performance of the show. It was because at this time in the late 80s, Marvel was starting to have some real financial problems. They didn't continue with this X-Men show because of that. In fact, a lot of other Marvel cartoons got canned at the same time. The Marvel Entertainment Group produced the Marvel Action Universe TV block, which featured a bunch of cartoons from a lot of their famous heroes. Shows like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, The Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four, Spider-Woman, just to name a few. And with Marvel's finances the way they were, all these shows got canned. So realistically, it's not a failed pilot, it's just a victim of bad timing. And like I was saying earlier, man, this episode was wicked awesome. And the mid-90s X-Men team that was represented in this one. Like, you had Wolverine, Cyclops, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm, Kitty Pryde, Dazzler, Professor X. Their uniforms were the early 80s kind of classic uniforms. The same with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The only thing that was really askew was that Magneto self-proclaimed himself to be a terrorist. He didn't believe he was a terrorist, he believed he was doing the right thing to save mutant kind. So let's take a look at X-Men cartoon history. In the early 80s, they made their cartoon debut within 4 episodes of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Well, of course, outside of Iceman, being a main character. But in there, you got to see some famous X-Men. This X-Men pilot happened in 1989, and the X-Men team was a little different, and X-Men cartoon fans would not have to wait long for another X-Men series. In 1993, we got the animated series X-Men, the classic cartoon with one of the greatest theme songs ever. I don't think I can do too much of the song, for copyrights and stuff like that, but now that song's stuck in your head. And that show was actually pretty similar to this. A lot of the animation style was pretty similar. It was really faithful to the comics that came before it for a lot of their stories and characters. And of course, their costumes were a little more different. The upgraded 90s costumes that were designed by the legendary artist Jim Lee. But with Pryde of the X-Men and the new X-Men cartoon being, 3 years apart, like, you'd really see exactly how it's basically the same show. The Pryde of the X-Men is basically like a prequel. And of course, there would be other X-Men cartoons popping out after these two. So X-Men animated series ran for 5 seasons, Starting in 2000, you had X-Men Evolution, and that was 4 seasons long, and it was actually like really awesome. You still had some of the main characters kind of pop back in this one, and that was followed by Wolverine and the X-Men in 2009, which only lasted a season, but was still a pretty good show. And was pretty darn similar to X-Men Evolution, and pretty much had the same characters. And of course in 2000 we had the first X-Men live action movie, which spawned a whole bunch of movies after that, with a whole host of characters, and looks like they'll be making their debut in the MCU sometimes in the near future. So the past was pretty bright for the X-Men, and the future's looking just as bright, so it should be pretty good. And other than that, that's that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.